I, 27 male, and my wife, 24, have been married for 3 years. She's 6 months pregnant. I've been looking for a job with better pay since my wife said she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom after birth. Today I had this interview for a position at an excellent IT company, paying triple my current salary. There were a lot of measures taken to prevent malpractice. I was not allowed to look anywhere but the screen, etc. The test was conducted on an online platform. I had told her numerous times before the exam about the strict invigilation. Just 15 minutes after the test started, my wife knocked on my study door and called out my name, saying she wanted me to open a jar. I ignored her because I would be disqualified from the interview if I looked anywhere else or spoke. I figured that she'd get the hint that I couldn't talk, but she didn't. She yelled at me, calling me an idiot, and went on to talk to her friends on call. It didn't stop at the calls. She played loud music for her online dance yoga class. It was extremely distracting, and I made a lot of mistakes in the exam. It was a multiple-choice question-based test, so I got the results immediately. And as expected, I had miserably failed it. I was livid at my wife. This was the 5th interview that she ruined like this. I told her that I had given up trying to make her life easier and that I was not ready to look for any more jobs since she didn't even want to maintain silence during important interviews. I told her to start working again after the birth and that I was okay paying for a nanny or a babysitter. She said that I'm being unreasonable and expecting perfect silence at home. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. The 5th time? Why is she sabotaging you? Doesn't she want you to make money? She should be doing everything in her power to make it a perfect environment for you to do a job review, which is essentially making more money, so she can be a stay-at-home mom if she's doing this on purpose. That's just cruel of her. She's sabotaging her own future for some reason. Do yourself a favor. Don't have any more kids with this woman. The less child support you have to pay when you split, the better off you'll be. You said this is the 5th time she has done this? Well, her dream of being a stay-at-home mom is now gone, but let her know she'll be returning to work since she has prevented you from getting a job that would have let her do so. It would help if you got to the bottom of this. Is she afraid if you make a lot of money you'll leave her? Is she scared of the reality of being a stay-at-home mom and self-sabotaging? I'm no psychologist, but it seems like there is some kind of anxiety or reaction to something that's driving this behavior that's not apparent from the post. So instead of another argument, see if you can find out where this is coming from and address that fear. Not the idiot, of course, but maybe there is a more constructive path than getting mad. You are the idiot. First of all, she's a pregnant woman, and you're expecting her to be a rational human being? Second, I'm a software engineer. We get tested similarly anytime we apply for jobs. If you, quote, fail miserably because of loud music or knocking on your door, maybe you just aren't cut out for this kind of work. 5 times, bro? I think you're taking your frustration with your inadequacy out on your wife. Agree. This stinks of blame shifting. OP, you mentioned this occasion having these specific strict parameters, and yet then say that she has done this 5 times. Do be a switch there. So you failed the multiple choice test, and you've written this to reinforce the idea that it was someone else's fault. Then you're throwing in the towel and blaming it on her. It sounds more like you're using her as a scapegoat. If she really has ruined that many interviews, it's on you not taking better precautions during the interview. LOL, what? Is he supposed to open all the jars in the house before he signs in for an interview? What other precaution could he have taken in this situation? Do you seriously think yoga with loud music is more important than a job interview that would allow his pregnant wife, who can't open a jar, more important? She knew that he couldn't step away from the exam and then asked him to step away from the exam for an entirely trivial reason? How would you fix that? So, just for some basic background info, my stepson is a young teen, and I've raised him alongside his mother since he was little. His father isn't in the picture. He and I had had a great relationship till a few years ago. Basically, as soon as he started puberty, he's become a typical angsty teenager who rebels against literally anything for no real reason other than him being a hormonal mess. Anyhow, for the past month or so, we've been having a battle of sorts with him about smoking cigarettes. It all started when another parent sent me a link to a TikTok video where he was smoking. I don't know where he's getting them from, but whenever we take them away from him, he gets them anyway. We don't even know how he's paying for them because we give him no pocket money because of this. We've tried talking to him about it and scaring him about the consequences. At first, he just lied to us, promising not to do it again, but he just keeps doing it. We've caught him smoking in his room before and abusing his privacy to get away with doing it. Like he'll close his door, open his window, and then smoke. We figured this out because he was too slow to throw one away when his mother went into his room after knocking one day. Since that day, we told him that he could only close his bedroom door when he was changing clothes, and that if he stopped smoking, we would give him back his privacy. Well, in response, he's been spending a lot of time in the bathroom, which has a lock on it. Obviously, I chalked this up to him doing what teen boys do behind closed doors. But one day while cleaning the bathroom, after he used it to have a shower, I recognized the smell. So I spoke to my wife about it, and she said that even if he was pretending to have a shower to smoke, it'd be wrong to breach the privacy because he might not be smoking. I beg to differ. Granted, I realized that I was going a bit far, but it was making me angry that he kept doing this and lying to us. Now he was using common decency against us, so I made a plan. The next time he had a shower at a weird time of day, he typically only showers before bed, I was going to burst in and catch him in the act. Obviously, when I put my plan into motion, while he was actually taking a shower, he yelled and carried on, and I apologized until I saw a packet of cigarettes sitting on the bench. So technically I was correct about my assessment. Anyway, both he and my wife are calling me idiots. He's calling me names, but that's typical. But my wife is telling me that even though I was right, I seriously invaded his privacy, and that my catching him with cigarettes didn't excuse it. Honestly, I don't see myself as an idiot, but my wife and other families say that I am. So I need a third-party insight here. So, am I the idiot? He's calling me names, but that's typical? OP, what are you doing to be called that routinely? Most people don't use that without reason, especially frequently. You are the idiot for invading his privacy and making him uncomfortable. At this point, your stepson would be addicted to cigarettes, so it isn't as simple to stop, and expecting him to stop right then and there is stupid. He needs help to break the habit. You are the idiot. You are invading his privacy hugely. I understand that you don't want him to be smoking, but he's going to do it, it seems, regardless of you. Rather than making it so it's a big thing to hide, make it clear he can smoke outside in the back garden, not in the bathroom or bedroom, as you don't want it in the house. If he ever wants to quit, he will, but it's not something you can force. Enabling him to smoke? What? Everyone here calling you an idiot is nuts. Force him to sit down and watch lung cancer videos with you until he's sick of it. I started smoking young, and my parents were buying my smokes for me. I wish someone would have talked with me. It took me 10 years and a lot of coughing and hacking to realize I shouldn't. I disagree. OP mentioned he had tried everything, and all he can do now is punish him. OP, you have not tried everything, in my opinion. And even if you had, walking in on him in the shower is borderline stupid. As someone who is experienced with teenage issues, I suggest you get him to talk to a counselor and a therapist. If you continue to barge in on him in the bathroom, he'll need the therapist. In 2013, my husband's father, Bob, began a relationship with a woman, Becky. Bob was 51, Becky was 20. Becky already had a child, Greta, toddler. Greta's bio father is dead. In 2014, Becky got pregnant with Bob's child, a girl, Sadie. Soon after, Becky started to become extremely nasty towards Bob and the kids. Over the next 3 years, she got worse and worse. Becky would kick Bob out of the house for weeks at a time if he dared stand up to her. During this time, Becky would not allow him to see the children. Social services got involved in 2016 because Greta's teachers noticed that she was rarely in school. Becky had 2 more kids with Bob, Laura and Lucy. In early 2018, social services finally took the case to court. Bob was given full custody of Greta, Sadie, and Laura. Becky was allowed to keep the newborn baby, Lucy, on the condition that she would be monitored. It has been 3 years since then. Lucy still lives with her mother. There are signs of neglect. Lucy likely will eventually be placed with Bob. My husband and I have a great relationship with the kids and help look after them as much as possible. They need lots of extra support due to neglect. Bob is now almost 60. He is not in great health. Recently, he mentioned that when he passes away or becomes too unwell or old to care for the girls, it's likely they will still be kids and teens. The way he was talking, he assumed we would take them in. Unfortunately, we are their only remaining family, and they cannot go back to their mother. So if my husband and I don't take them, they will have to go to foster homes. My husband and I have our own lives with demanding jobs. We had not planned to have kids. We both struggle with various mild or moderate mental health issues, and I have ADHD. Sometimes we struggle to take basic care of the house and ourselves. When we're not at work, we both desperately need time to unwind and relax with peace and quiet. Otherwise, we get burnt out and spiral. If we suddenly had 4 kids or teens to take care for, it would change our lives entirely. I do not know how we would cope. We feel as though our plans for later in life have disappeared. It's a depressing, suffocating feeling. Part of us feels that it's our responsibility to take them in because we're their only family. But, on the other hand, it wasn't our decision that these kids were born, so why should we have to give up our lives to look after them? But doesn't it make us total idiots if we don't give them a home? How would we explain to the girls, "Sorry you have to go into care because we don't want you"? I don't know. I need some perspective. Not the idiot. Parenting is hard work. It is fine not to want to be parents for any reason. Do the girls have any family on their mom's side that may want to be involved? Grandparents, etc.? The best way to handle this is to have these conversations now. What is Bob doing to prepare for the future? Does he have finances in place to take care for the kids? What options are realistically available? If all of these decisions are made now and legally handled, it will make the conversation with the girls in the future easier. Don't wait until the inevitable happens. Plan for it. Becky's parents are still alive, but unfortunately, when the courts gave Bob full custody, they also thoroughly investigated Becky's parents and found them unfit to look after children. No other family on either their mother or father's side. We will try to have a conversation about this with Bob soon. Not the idiot, but I'd be prepared in the back of the mind for the guilt that may come if this happens and to make some secret preparations in case all other options fall through. Of course, sometimes the reality of situations overrides what we would choose, but you should not feel obligated. I feel bad for the kids because both of their parents are utterly gross people. For context, I, 37 male, have 3 kids, 2 with my wife, 38, but my son is her stepkid. In our house, we have a very specific chore schedule that works so that all of us can do chores and still have plenty of free time and family time on top of homework and sports. It took a long time to come up with this system and the allowance system, as my wife has always been iffy about our kids doing too little to help and about us giving them allowance in the first place. We ended up working this out when the oldest were toddlers, and it's been the system for several years. Yesterday, I came home early and was getting ready to start dinner when I noticed my daughter's and wife's nails were done and full, with nice colors and even some nail extensions. The only time it could have been done was during chore time, unless she'd gotten the kids home from school early. This is impossible. Our kids' school gives the other parent a call when they're picked up early, or she skipped out on chores. With how strict my wife is about the whole thing, I heavily doubt that she'd skip out on chores that only take 30 minutes for nails. My daughter had started talking about how much fun they'd had. When I asked her how they found the time for it, she slipped up, admitting that her brother was doing their chores. When I asked how long, she went on to say since September. I then went to ask my wife, who got deflective, saying our daughter had lied and they just rushed through chores that day. I told her I'd go ask my son about it, and that if it went about our daughter was truly lying, then we'd scold her for the lie. I checked it out with our son, and our daughter was right. He said he thought I was in on the change, and while he was talking, he brought up that Mom said he wouldn't be paid since it was helpful and not work. So I went right to my bag downstairs, got my wallet, and pulled out the entirety of September's money and gave it to him. I told him I'd go to the bank and get him October's money too, for the full month, not just what he'd worked for having to deal with this. My wife flipped out. She started an argument directly in front of the kids, and as much as I tried to calm her down and get her to talk privately, she wouldn't budge. Our shouting ended up waking up our toddler, who had been napping throughout this, and that's what finally stopped the screaming match. She's been calling me the idiot for simply paying our son without even talking to her, and that his chores were much too easy, so he had to do extra work to make up for his slacking. Note, he does the downstairs bathroom and the toddler's room, neither of which are easy, and that slacker shouldn't be paid. To prevent more fights, I compromised by letting the problem go and my son keep his money until we figure the whole thing out. So we're keeping the pace for Halloween but haven't talked about it at all. Not the idiot. Has your wife lost it? I can't believe she forked off her and her daughter's chores on your son. She knew it was wrong because she did not tell you about it until she was caught. This is some evil stepmother crap. Your wife needs help. If she isn't treating your son equally, you and your son deserve better. Yes, I got some Cinderella vibes from this. Even when the wife was caught, she lied about it and threw her daughter under the bus. She's acting like a step monster to OP's son. That poor sweet boy who just did the chores and didn't speak up. I'm glad that dad stood up for him. He needs to stand his ground. The worst part of this story is that your son has been doing their chores for over a month, and your wife and daughter only got their nails done once. So the rest of the time, they were sitting around watching him do double or triple chores, and your daughter was collecting allowance for her chores? So your wife and daughter have been lying to you, as well as your wife behaving like a villain. Please address these issues before it's too late. So I have a dairy allergy. I've had it my entire life. When I eat dairy, my mouth and throat get itchy, and sometimes my nose gets runny. So I guess when I was a baby, my parents gave me cheese and I kept itching my eyes. They took me to the pediatrician, and he determined that I had a dairy allergy. I was hanging out with some friends yesterday, like 4 people, and my friend brought his friend Alan along. My friend said something about getting pizza, and I said, you guys can, and I'll get a burger or something somewhere because I can't eat pizza. People forget, no big deal. Alan was like, why can't you eat pizza? Lactose intolerant? I said, no, I have a dairy allergy. He was like, it's the same thing. Just take a Lactate and you'll be fine. I said, no, it's not. My reactions are different. This is an allergy, not an intolerance. He was like, dude, there's no such thing as a dairy allergy. It's lactose intolerance. I said, well, if I eat dairy, my throat gets itchy, and if someone has lactose intolerance, it upsets their stomach. He was like, it's lactose intolerance. Dairy allergies aren't a thing. I told him if he wanted someone to explain it to him, I'd give him my doctor's number, but I'm done discussing it. I had zero intention of doing that, but I was sick of going in circles. After Alan left, my friend that brought him said that I should have just agreed with Alan instead of arguing with him because he's argumentative and always has to prove he's right, that I antagonized him by feeding into it. Am I the idiot? Should I just have said sure and let it go? Ask Alan where he received his medical degree from, because he needs a refund. Unfortunately, Alan is uninformed and does not know your medical history. You are not the idiot. Why do people have to accommodate the Allens of the world to avoid inconveniencing them? You explained it to him. I mean, today I learned that there were dairy allergies, which are not the same as being lactose intolerant. If I see the difference, why couldn't he? He can take it or leave it, not your problem. Ah, yes, that's just the way he is, that old chestnut. He's that way because everybody puts up with and excuses it. All your friends, on the other hand, were idiots. You aren't the one who picked a fight. You ended it, but you didn't pursue or initiate this. Alan is the one who decides what someone else is eating is somehow his problem.